Some people have an obsession with Sex and the City. Others think chicken nuggets are the best food known to man. Me, I have an embarrassing list of watches I actually rather like, and I'm about to share them with you now. The last one will probably get me banned. Built to celebrate Rolex's utter dominance over everything by rubbing it in further with a watch that combines all the most impossible things to get in a Rolex. The celebration dial, more commonly known as the Bubbles because wannabe owners still drink their drinks through a straw, is an utter abomination. A textbook definition of enforced fun. It's the watch equivalent of a corporate team building day. Imagine a room full of Swiss suits deciding what it is the youths of today might be truly humbled and blessed to purchase, and a Tiffany blue dial with coloured circles is exactly what you'd imagine. It has all the creativity of a Xerox machine and half the charisma. Yet, somehow, they got it absolutely spot on, and it absolutely pains me to admit it. Rolex, not just making watches, but making fun watches. I'm on the lookout for the other horsemen of the apocalypse. They're bound to be here soon. This isn't just the Hublot Big Bang Tourbillon Neon Yellow, it's the Hublot Big Bang Tourbillon Neon Yellow Saxem. What does Saxem stand for? It's not a directive to send axe execution mandatory to rid the population of those tasteless enough to buy one. It means sapphire, aluminium oxide and rare earth material, aka fossilized snot. And not only is this Big Bang the same colour as Shrek's excrement, it's also got less water resistance than a tea bag and costs as much as a holiday home on the south coast of France. But for some reason I can't explain, perhaps a small brain tumour, I actually like it. The tourbillon wrought from scaffolding, the radioactive glow, and the strap made from children's beach sandals should have me revisiting breakfast, but no, I like it. When the homogenized mess that is the Richard Mille RM88, known as the Smiley, was first brought to my attention about a year ago, I perhaps wondered if the controversial watchmaker had taken another step into the unacceptable by employing child labour. As the RM88 looks like the personification of a 12-year-old girl's diary, it seemed that, in a rainbow fireball of glowing destruction, Mr. Mille had decided enough was enough and had committed the most spectacular kind of brand self-immolation by emptying a $20 charm bracelet into one of his watches. I didn't like this watch at first. Far from it. The $1.2 million price tag was besides the point. I assumed that was the result of the same glue-huffing session that had inspired its creation in the first place. But you know what? I do like it. Why? It's not a round, black dial dive watch, and it proves to other watch brands that having fun isn't forbidden. One of the reasons that I, as a kid, knew the CD would be so much better than a floppy disk wasn't because it could store more data, but because it was shiny, and shiny is the future. I was, and kinda still am, obsessed with shiny things with lots of colours on them. So when Audemars Piguet launched the Royal Oak Carolina Bucci Rainbow Limited Edition in ceramic, it was an instant thumbs up from me. Yes, the dial looks like the security hologram on a bank card, but given how much time I hesitate to admit I spend looking at mine, it's like Audemars Piguet deliberately made this watch for me knowing full well I could never have one. Now, this isn't universal. The Royal Oak offshore music is the Beats by Dre of the watch industry, and the less said about the Marvel collaborations the better. But this rainbow, yes, me likey very much. Call it bioceramic. Call it plastic. Call it reclaimed landfill. The cutesy little MoonSwatch is a steaming hunk of junk, and I'm not exaggerating for comic effect. Name me one other watch that literally has pieces flying off it, that marks its territory on its owner's wrists. And despite it being a self-destructive Happy Meal toy with delusions of grandeur, people stood in lines for hours, come hell or high water, to get one. People paid, and I cannot stress this enough, actual money for one. Some people, and still I'm rather delicately coming to terms with this, paid enough to buy an actual Speedmaster for one. The MoonSwatch was a landmark moment for the industry, the tipping point where an icon had its pants pulled down in front of everyone. It's like switching out the torch in the Statue of Liberty's hand for a can of Coca-Cola. Yet, I love it. I bought one. Charlotte bought one too. It's the first watch she actively pursued herself. It was a crazy move on Swatch's part, executed with all the delicacy of a hand grenade, but at least it was something. You might say, but at what cost? Well, maybe it's a small price to pay to prime a new generation of collectors. Oh hello, I didn't see you there. I was too busy enjoying all this fantastic new channel merch, and you can too. So if you want to be as cool as me, or perhaps even cooler, check it out just below the video. Thanks very much. If the Rolex Bubbles is like the ultimate in company mandated fun, then the code 1159 is the day after, back in the office. Lots of emails from HR with words like energized and motivated in them. If the Rolex Bubbles is a day out with colleagues building bridges out of drinking straws, the code 1159 is learning the office is getting a vending machine and it's filled to the brim with grain bars and slowly dying fruit. Any human that reads the name code 1159 hears the marketing guff reasoning behind it and doesn't let out a sigh like a comfy dog is an alien imposter. Not heard the reason? Are you ready? Code stands for challenge, own, dare and evolve. Yes, that's internal branding, mission statement, core values, mumbo jumbo expressed outwardly to the public. Like Audemars Piguet, inside voice. And the 1159, that's about being on the brink of tomorrow, being ahead of the game. Yeah, just. Talk about doing your homework at the 11th hour. All this stuff at launch kind of clouded the fact that the code 1159 was actually a very okay watch. Not a great one. Not one to turn friends into enemies over an allocation, but an okay one, and one that I'd happily have and enjoy. For the older amongst you, do you remember that moment when you stood up and both your knees popped for the first time? Or you did a bit of gardening and the next day your back ached? That's called getting old, and we've all got to do it. There are different stages to aging. First is when you can no longer eat the entire contents of the fridge and not gain weight. Then it's when you decide staying in and watching telly is more pleasant than going out and seeing friends. Then come the noises, either from you involuntarily or from your body. At some point you'll then decide that farting on the bus and shouting at pigeons is fine, and it's around there that you'll look to buy yourself the ultimate old man's watch, the Patek Philippe 5146J in yellow gold. Now, I'm still a ways off telling the neighbour kids to get off my lawn, but I do really like the 5146J. Then again, my teacher did always say I was old for my age. If your house has a pair of concrete lions outside the front door and your Bentley is bright purple, then chances are you also are in the process of getting or would dearly like a Jacob & Co watch. And what better way to reward a hard day's kicking a football around than to buy yourself the striking Astronomia Tourbillon. The Astronomia Tourbillon is like looking into the mind of the great astronomer Galileo. Well, if Galileo was a little sloppy with the details and had an obsession with the contents of a Russian oligarch's jewellery box. Put it all together and what you get is something that feels as much like a watch as Amy Schumer does a comedian. It not only looks like a UFO, it's as big as one too, but despite these challenging logistics, I actually really like it. I probably wouldn't and couldn't wear it, but I would absolutely love one, minus the lugs, sat on my desk to keep me going through boring Teams meetings. So for this one, I may as well hand in my gun and badge because I'm about to commit the cardinal sin of watch enthusiasm and express my affinity for a smartwatch. The silly thing is that despite having tried a smartwatch and finding literally no use for it, I still really like them. And not the sleek, svelte Apple Watch either, but the monstrously ungainly Apple Watch Ultra. So why would I feel like this about a piece of wearable tech that's as relevant to me as a pair of red-soled high heels? I honestly don't know, but I just love the Ultra dearly. Maybe because it feels like the future I always dreamed of. Maybe because it speaks to the adventurer I would be were it not for my weak joints and crippling lack of fitness. Or maybe it's because it's a watch with a TV in it, and that's just the coolest thing ever. Okay, cards on the table. Your turn to tell me what watches you're embarrassed to like. You can let me know anonymously down in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe and do a small dance, and I'll see you next time. Still here? Watch this video next.